Hey, welcome. Grab a seat anywhere. No, we don't have any menus. The only thing we have today is the freedom to express who you truly are. We call it Authenticity Radio. You'll like it, don't worry. Let me go grab the host. He's got the hospitality of a fat and jolly innkeeper. He's a good guy. Slade Suter.
And thank you for joining us on today's morning edition. This is Slade Suter. Today on Authenticity Radio, we have joining us today fellow broadcaster Linda-Lombardo.
Over the mountain, down in the valley, lives a former talk show host. Everybody knows his name.
Okay, now Linda is a certified coach from Creative Journey Coaching, and she is a producer and host of the Voice of Evolution Radio. Oh my goodness. So she is my heart sister, and Linda, welcome. Finally, long overdue welcome to Authenticity Radio.
Thank you, Slade. I know. How long did it take for us to get to this moment?
Oh, about 5 years.
Well, maybe 3.5.
Okay, but it seems longer. So how are you? Welcome to you.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here because you are so amazing, and you are doing the thing about which I'm so passionate, and that's sharing voices. And as we're sitting here today, I'm looking at the photo of you that says listening to your real voice, and that's so resonant for me.
I'm very tickled to finally have you on Authenticity Radio today.
Well, thank you. And here's a secret. Can I share a secret with you? It won't go any farther.
But if you do, you have to whisper.
Okay. That as I've been sharing the voices of others, my own voice has been getting stronger. And so it's been a really amazing journey, and I don't know if that's true for you. I was one of those people, rather chameleon-like, so depending on who I was with, someone would share their opinion, and I love when people have strong opinions. And I'd say, that makes sense. And then I'd take that in, and I'd kind of own that. It would come along with me to the next person I met. And at some point, as I was listening to all these voices, I realized I have my own voice. So there's been a journey for me, as well as wanting so much for the voices of others to be heard. It's been really important for me to learn what is my own voice? What does it want to say? And so I don't know if any of that's true for you, but it's certainly been true for me. So that's something I don't often share.
Oh, isn't that so exciting to have you on this program for other people to hear that we are on this journey? And you know what? And I'm so convinced that this journey is about just this, about learning what our voices are, and in the process, learning to like it. And we kind of start discovering our voice and how it sounds when we're actually true, when our voice is coming from our heart, and we're trusting in our intuition, in our deeper, higher self, And at the same time, we're not at war with our lower self, our ego, as well. That's an important piece I've kind of discovered in my broadcasting with others, is I've been learning how to work with my ego, my lower self, and stop fighting the fight, internal fight.
We're two people in one, right? There's that expression that we are spiritual beings in a human form. And so when you talk about a higher self and the lower self, there's a lot of different perspectives for that. And times where we're all just so incredibly human in all its messiness and everything else. And, there's this expression in the coaching world, at least in my world, which is the Coaches Training Institute, you just don't get to be wrong. You really don't. And so we beat ourselves up a lot when we're not as perfect as we expect to be, or we're not always doing the right thing. And I found that what's been useful for me as a producer and a host, and even just in living my life, is looking at the events that happen in the world, the good things, the bad things, for want of a better word, the distressing things, and knowing that there's a perspective where you can look at that and say, well, what if nobody really gets to be wrong? What if we're all playing out just the messiness of being human here? And on a human level, there's things happening daily where we might say, well, this is awful, this is horrible, and we're activated, we want to react to something. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, there's this spiritual side of us that says, well, wasn't that interesting? I wonder how humanity is going to respond, and will humanity respond?
Well, that's a good question.
So I'm making myself really weird right now when I'm saying that. I'm being about as weird as I can be. Uh-huh. And yet I'm fascinated by that, Slade, that if we step out of it for a bit and just look at it, what can we see that we can't see when we're right in the middle of it?
And so Linda, when you look for guests on your show, what do you look for?
What a great question. So there have been a couple of perspectives that I've held along the way. And just first, because I there's something of a perfectionist in me, in spite of everything I'm saying. I think early on it was, well, how big can we get? And who can we get on the air with us? And somewhere along the way that shifted for me. And I realized that there are so many people in the world who are doing this amazing work. And the threshold of what would make somebody do something they had never expected to do before can work both ways. You know, there's the idea of the threshold in a crowd, that someone may pick up a rock and throw it in a window. And although you would never do that, or you'd claim you'd never do that, at some point, if enough people are picking up rocks and throwing them through a window, you're going to say, you know what, I might as well do it too. And so I think it works on the other side. The more we hear about people doing good and sustainable work in the world, the more we hear about people changing the world through sometimes the tiniest act of compassion and kindness. At some point, we're going to say, well, you know, maybe the world isn't so overwhelming. Maybe I am able to make a difference, and maybe I can do that right here in my own backyard. You know, I don't have to travel around the world 6 times and create a foundation. I could actually just go out into my neighborhood and do something that makes a difference. So I think I'm broadcasting on the threshold principle, Slade, that the more people who listen and the more people who hear ordinary people doing these amazing things, the more they'll think that, you know, that's something I could do too. I don't have to be special, with air quotes around that. I don't have to be a celebrity. I don't have to be a billionaire. I can go out and just do it myself.
Mm-hmm. And so do you, as you go about your life, you come across an individual or you hear a story, and the story inspires you and say, this is a person I just have to get on the show. Is that how you find these people?
Yeah, it does work that way. I spend a lot of time foraging on the internet just to, you know, what are the stories? What are the trends? And I love when I find something that maybe not always activates or inspires. There was a blogger, Rob Myers, who I had on the program recently, and he'd written a blog about mass shootings and how to stop them, but we weren't going to like the answer that he came up with. And it was the first time that I'd heard somebody address the issue in a way that wasn't making anybody wrong, wasn't taking sides. he was really advocating for us reaching out to individuals. If we see someone who's a loner, someone who's a little weird, who's a nerd, obviously keeping our own safety and reaching out and looking for the people who may just be a little bit alone in the world. And I really felt that I could have the conversation with him, because we weren't going to make anybody wrong. We weren't going to advocate for anything except really compassion and individuals doing their own work in the world. And we just had the best conversation on the air. And so I also look for that. And it may not always make the best radio. Someone told me once that it either has to be controversial, it has to be funny, or it has to be insider information. And often I go for insider information, saying that this is stuff that people need to know, but may not always know, because the controversy may sell tickets, but I'm not about creating controversy on the air. And sometimes we laugh, of course, because things are funny, and that's part of being human, but I'm not a comedy show either. And so I've got to go with insider information if those are my only three choices, and say that this is sharing information that people may just not always hear about.
Well, Linda, could you be a person of just love in action? And your program is looking for that expression and bringing individuals onto your program that are examples of love. And I'm speaking of love as in the form agape, pure love.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I think we both have that. I think you and I both have that in terms of how we approach what we do. It's, the individual matters. I was going to say the little person, and there are no little people. The individual matters. The individual can make a difference. And so there was a time, and I'm going to share this with you. I admire Krista Tippett a lot on public radio, On Being with Krista Tippett. And typically she gets all the people on the air who don't even respond to my invitations. And so for a while I was going to write a blog that was called On Not Being Krista Tippett, with the utmost respect. And I may still one day, and because she's speaking to the bigger voices. And yet, I realized we're all in this, and we're all doing things. And there are going to be those people who will have the big voices on, and from time to time I do. But for the most part, I want you to know that here's a mom who found out that, 4 of her kids had challenges, whether they were learning challenges or social challenges. And so not only did she do something very special for those kids, she created a model that all parents can use. It's out of our own experience in our own lives that we come up with this stuff. And great moments are created. And so I think that's really the message, is you don't have to be famous, and you don't have to have written a bestseller. That what you're doing, even in your own family or your own community, is part of your journey and can be a model for others to get to that threshold, right? If this person is doing it, why can't I?
It is this, I think, that, and I'm going to throw myself in here too, that I think that we are about bringing attention to these individuals who are giving so much in life that need to be seen and need to be heard. And it does so much honor for these individuals who are seen. To be seen is very important in this life.
It is.
I just really believe that, and this is where I want to honor you, Linda, because this is what I see you doing, and every time I see you on the net and I hear your programs, this is what I hear of you, and this is, I said, she's bringing honor to people who need honor, and she is teaching people through her story, through other stories that need to be heard.